hope you're all having a great day and welcome back to my channel. In case you missed the last video, I'm starting off a brand new series in 2019 where I'm comparing Disney World and Disneyland. This is mainly because I know a lot of you either haven't been to Disneyland, haven't been to Disney World, or maybe haven't been to either park, but you want to know what it's like experiencing the parks, or maybe you love going to one park and wonder what it's like at the other one. So I thought it'd be a really fun way to start off the year, especially knowing how many of you guys love Disney videos. But before we get started, I did want to cover a couple quick things before jumping into the video. First of all, I'm in no way, shape, or form trying to claim that I am creating the series at all. I just kind of assumed it had been done before. But Trisha actually commented on my last video letting me know that there's an account called Disneylander, and they do a lot of different videos covering this series and comparing rides, I think specifically at different parks. So when I do my rides video, I kind of just envisioned comparing rides in general, not like one specific ride. It looks like Disneylander covers specific rides. So if you guys are interested in more videos like these, you can definitely go check out their channel, and please let me know if there's any other accounts that have done a series like this. Like, feel free to let me know so I can give them a shout out as well. Also, I really would love for this series to be a collaboration rather than just me giving you my opinion. I think some of you guys definitely picked that up in the last video where I wasn't really like saying like, this is what I think is better. I think it's a really fun way to just kind of like get you guys engaged in the comments and talking about the different parks and what you guys think. I love hearing your guys' thoughts. That being said, I actually originally intended for this video to cover just Disneyland, not even California Adventure or the Disneyland Resort. And my reasoning behind this is because Walt Disney envisioned Disneyland as Disneyland, but when he created Walt Disney World, he envisioned it to have like multiple features, not just like one theme park. So that's why I felt comfortable just talking about like Disneyland versus Disney World. But I know a couple of you guys were confused by that, and I did a poll on my Instagram. A vast majority said that you wanted me to cover the Disneyland Resort, including California Adventure, in my series. So moving forward, I'm going to be doing that. And lastly, I'm not claiming to be an expert in any way, shape, or form. I absolutely love Disney and I find these types of things really, really interesting. But I know there's people out there, and you guys probably too, know a lot more than I do. I'm sure I'm going to mess up sometimes. So please, if I do, just say, hey, by the way, this is actually what this is. I don't mind that at all, just because I feel like a lot of this stuff I'm doing off the top of my head. Except for today's video, I did look at Wikipedia just because I wanted to make sure I understood how the Fastpass system like came to be, because I know it's undergone a lot of changes in the past couple years. So I think that's everything I wanted to say. So now let's jump into comparing the Fastpass systems, both Disneyland to Disney World, and also what the Fastpass system was like when it started to where it is today. So I'm not afraid to say that I actually did use Wikipedia as a reference, only because the Fastpass system has changed so much over the years, and there's a lot of little details that it can get really confusing really easily, and I didn't really want to mess that up. So a lot of it is from personal experience, but then I also just looked at Wikipedia as a reference just to make sure I had all my facts straight. The Fastpass system actually was created in 1999. So now that we're in 2019, that means it was invented 20 years ago. That's crazy. It's been out for 20 years. Basically, the Fastpass system, when it originated, what it was you go to like a kiosk right outside a ride. So let's just say Splash Mountain, for example. You get a little ticket by scanning in your park ticket, and it tells you when you can come back. Let's just say between 12 and 1 p.m. And basically you get to skip most of the line instead of having to spend like 60 minutes, 2 hours waiting in line. So it's a pretty cool idea. I don't know the ins and outs of it, to be totally honest. I think the reason why they did it was both to cut down like ride wait times, and also so the guests can go spend like their time doing other things rather than just like standing in line. But that's what it was when it first started. It was a paper system where you had to physically go scan your park ticket in order to get a little like ticket in like as a receipt in return. I just went and looked, and I actually love collecting Fastpasses, so I had some in my desk. These are for Magic Kingdom, but I'll be using these like as a reference when I'm explaining the Fastpass system. So back in the day, you had to go scan your park ticket at this kiosk, and it printed off a paper Fastpass for you. You had to hold on to these because this was your Fastpass. If you lost this, you were just out of luck, and this is what you actually handed into the cast member. It had the date on it, it had a picture of the ride, it had the ride's name on it, and it also had a time frame for when you could come back. Let's just say between 10 and 11 a.m. Another thing I actually totally forgot about too until I was reading up on it, but apparently you could only get one at a time. No matter how much time you had spent, you could only have one at a time. So let's just say you want to go on Splash Mountain, or you had a Fast Pass for Splash Mountain and you wanted to go on Thunder Mountain. You had to use the Splash Mountain Fast Pass first before you can get one for Thunder Mountain. Whereas now you could just wait, I think it's like 2 hours, an hour and a half. You can get the one Fast Pass, and then once that amount of time has passed, you can get a second one. So you can have multiple at one time now. One thing I didn't know that I thought was cool was apparently Epcot's Mission Space was the very first attraction that was built with the Fast Pass line in mind. Also, as a fun memory, I totally remember them being like, back in the day, the Fast Pass system was great because the cast members were not strict about it at all. Let's just say you had a Fast Pass that was from like 10 to 11. You could, as long as it was like past 10, you could use your Fast Pass whenever. Like, I remember using my Fast Pass at night sometimes. Even if we get them in the morning, we would just like stock up on them and we could use them like later in the day, like at 5 p.m. And they were like totally chill about it, which is not the case anymore. But I feel like those were like the glory days. And I'm sure you guys remember that too if you went to Disneyland or maybe Disney World during that time. I didn't go to Disney World when they had that sort of system, so I don't know, but I totally remember when they were very lenient on like when you had to come back and you can just like stock up on all the Fast Passes. Like, that was the best time to be alive. So that was basically just like the origins in the Fast Pass system. I really wanted to just start off with like explaining how it came into place, when that happened, what it really looked like, so that way we can talk about like where it is today. So we're gonna jump over to Disney World and talk about their Fast Pass system, which is called Fast Pass Plus, which I didn't even know there was like a special name for their Fast Pass system. I just assumed it was all the same. Apparently not. And their FastPass system is mainly electronic. I'm only saying that because I think they must have a way for people who don't have like smartphones, because not everyone has a smartphone. And there's like a few major differences actually between this FastPass system and the Disneyland Fastpass system. The biggest difference in this FastPass system is a lot of it is done in advance. So for those guests who are staying at Disney World specific hotels, so not just like any hotel in the area, but they have to be like a Disney World hotel, they can make selections up to 60 days in advance. They also have up to 30 days in advance for those of you who don't stay at a resort but do buy a ticket. And I believe it's like 7 days in advance for annual pass holders. I don't really remember because I don't think as a cast member we had that much in advance, but it's a lot more in advance than Disneyland. Disneyland, you have to book them like the day of. You can't book them in advance at all. You also have the ability to book up to 3 at a time. I believe you could book more once you've used your 3, but you can book 3 at once, as opposed to Disneyland where you can only do 1 at a time. Disney World, you can book up to 3, but it's not like 3 big rides. You can't just book like Splash Mountain, Space Mountain, and Thunder Mountain. I think actually you might be able to at Disney World. See, this is the hard thing, because I'm not there, so I don't remember off the top of my head. But what I do remember is you couldn't book like 3 major attractions. They wouldn't allow you to do that. I think it was like 1 major attraction and 2 minor attractions, or 2 major attractions and 1 minor attraction. Regardless, you couldn't pick like 3 big attractions. Another cool thing is you could group up with your friends and family. So once you make an account on the Disney World mobile app, you can also list like who you travel the most with. And so when you're making these FastPass selections, you can ensure that your family's all getting them for the same time. The best part of the system being in advance is you don't have to worry about like running over to one side of the park to make sure that you get fast passes for your whole group, or it's not like your group is splitting up. I totally remember as a kid my dad having to run over to one side of the park with everyone's park tickets to make sure that we were all together. But the benefit of this fast pass system being on your phones and also being like in advance, and then the fact that you can make it as a group, you don't have to worry about the group getting split up for a certain amount of time just to make fast pass selections. Another thing too is you can only make these selections for 1 park per day. So even if you have a park hopper, the 3 fast passes that you make either the day of your trip or before your trip, they all have to be for 1 park, which I feel like really wasn't the case at Disneyland. As long as you were like physically going from podium to podium, like it didn't really matter which park you got the fast passes in. But for Disney World, you definitely do have to make sure that they're all in the same park when you're making your original 3 fast passes. Another cool way the fast pass system has evolved is now you can also make selections for character meet and greets. They have those fast pass options. They also have fast pass options for shows and parades as well. So if rides aren't your thing, that's totally fine, because you do have the option to make fast pass selections for characters and shows as well. So now that we've talked about how the whole Fast Pass Plus system in Disney World is all on your phone, we still haven't really talked about how you could possibly get paper fast passes. So in the case that a ride does break down and you do have the fast pass for it, they will sometimes give you these, cast members will give you these in case a ride breaks down. Sometimes you'll get this as a magical moment. There's a couple different reasons for why you could get one of these. series, but it's definitely not something that's guaranteed. But there was a couple different versions of it. So this one expired October 31st, 2017, and this was valid for one guest for any one Fastpass experience. So for this one, it doesn't say on there if there's any exclusions, and it's for Magic Kingdom Park. There are some that are like this that exclude certain rides like Peter Pan or Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, those rides that always have really long wait times. This one I could have used that on Mine Train if I wanted to, but it's only valid for one person. So I had to make sure I didn't lose this, and each person in my party would have gotten one of these, whereas this one is for up to 5 guests. So meaning that this one ticket expired February 28, 2018. And this one ticket could have been good for like a whole family of people. And again, this doesn't say on there at all if there's any exclusions. Most likely if you like have a ride breakdown and use, let's just say Mine Train, they'll give out fast passes that don't like exclude Mine Train, but there are some that do. That's how you get the paper fast passes, even though it's all electronic now, I believe. They still have options in case like a ride breaks down, or if they want to create an extra magical moment. Now we're gonna hop all the way back to Disneyland, talk about what's different from what it originally was when it started, and also what's still the same. Starting off with what's different. So originally you get those little receipts like I just showed you, these little like tickets. Once you scanned in your park ticket, you get one of these back, and you could not lose this because this is your fast pass. This little receipt here was your fast pass. Now the way it is you scan in your park ticket, you still get like a little receipt, but there's a very clear line on it that says this is not actually your fast pass, it's just a receipt, and your fast pass actually lives on your park ticket or on your phone. So right now they are encouraging you, if you have a smartphone, to load your ticket onto your smartphone, so that way your fast passes show up there, and basically it just shows a barcode. And when you go back to the ride, you do have to scan in that barcode, and that's what registers that you have the fast pass, not the receipt. So even if you show up with just the receipt, they won't actually let you on the ride. Another thing that's different is because it's a computer-based system now, their leniency on the time is totally gone. Now you can't really show up a half an hour late because it is a computer system. Basically, if you have the FastPass ticket on your phone, it will only appear during that time, so you can't come early at all. It will only show up if you're in that time frame, and it will also disappear, I think. I've never like not used a FastPass because I've been so afraid of like missing it, so I'm actually not sure what happens if you if you miss it, but I'm pretty sure it becomes inactive because you can see your FastPass selections on your phone like before they're active, like they show up that they're there, but you can't actually utilize them until it's time. So unfortunately, that part of it is gone, which I thought was really fun when I was a kid, but I can understand it. Another great difference though is that now you can have multiple fast passes. So it's still the same thing where you can make one fast pass at a time and you can only start off with one, but once that like hour and a half, 2 hour time period has passed, you can make a second one even if you haven't used your first one yet. So that was one of the bigger positive differences I noticed in Disneyland's FastPass system when I was looking at how it started to where it is now. Now you can have like multiple FastPasses and just kind of like stack them up, just as long as they don't expire. Some things that are still the same at Disneyland, you still get like a little FastPass like receipt. Unfortunately though, now it's just a receipt. It has absolutely no value, but the good thing is if you lose that, it's not the end of the world because your fast pass is now linked to your park ticket, which is either your physical park ticket or whatever on your phone. And they still have the podium system idea. So if you wanted a fast pass for Space Mountain, let's just say, you would have to physically go to Space Mountain, go to the podium, insert your park ticket or scan your park ticket in order to get like an actual fast pass created on your park ticket. Also, I probably forgot to mention this, but this is very important. You can only book fast passes the day of once you're in the park. So it's not like Disney World where you can book them in advance, like 60 days or 30 days. You do have to be in the park to make your fast pass selections. If it's physically going to a podium or maybe even going to your phone, regardless, you do have to be in the park to make your selections. So I feel like this is a good time to move into the MaxPass. Now that we've understood how the FastPass system started, what it looks like at Disney World, what it looks like today at Disneyland, I think it's finally time we look into the MaxPass. Honestly, the MaxPass system was so confusing to me at first. I went to Disneyland back in April for the first time and used it. I tried looking online at like how they explained it on their website and it just didn't make any sense to me. I didn't see any videos explaining it and it really took me a while to understand it once I was there. So now I feel like I have a pretty good understanding, and I did create a video explaining the MaxPass system just because it is so confusing. So if you guys are interested in an in-depth video just on the MaxPass, I'll link that down below for you guys as well. So starting off the MaxPass, it does cost money. This is the biggest difference from any of the other FastPass options, is that it does cost money. It costs $10 per person per day. So if you have a family of 5, it would cost you $50 per day. So let's just say you're there for 3 days, it would cost you $150, which sounds pretty expensive. And if you are an annual pass holder, you do have the option of adding on the MaxPass to your annual pass for an extra $75, which I did, and I think it's totally worth it. I think it would be definitely worth it if everyone in your party was getting it, because it really wouldn't do any good if you were the only one with it and everyone else didn't have it. But it doesn't interfere with the FastPass system. Like, you can still use a FastPass without having to pay for it, which I think is pretty good. Essentially, the most basic understanding of the MaxPass system is that it just allows you to make these selections on your phone. So like I mentioned before, you would still have to go to a physical podium to make a selection, but now you can do it on your phone. So you could be in California Adventure and make a FastPass selection for Space Mountain, and vice versa. You can make a selection for an attraction, let's just say Cars in California Adventure, while you're in Disneyland, or even if you're in the same park. Let's just say you're over by Space Mountain, you don't want to have to run all the way over to Splash Mountain. Luckily with this, you can just make your FastPass selection while you're standing next to Space Mountain for Splash Mountain without like getting your steps in for the day. Honestly, I think this is great because it really does keep families together. With this option, your family can stay all together, and I just feel like it's really convenient being able to book them on your phone, especially being able to book them from like a different park while you're like in the other park. The only thing is you cannot use it until you're actually scanned into the park. I tried this out when I was staying at one of the hotels nearby. It's not like a radius thing. They actually have to physically scan your ticket into the park for you to have the option to use it. One last thing I wanted to mention about the MaxPass that I thought was pretty cool is it does include photos. So let's just say you do a photo in front of a ride, in front of an attraction, or with a character. You get those photos included too, so you don't have to pay extra for those photos. They do come included with that $10 per day. Whew. Okay guys, we did it. I just felt like it was totally necessary to do this video because they're so different, and I would honestly feel so bad if any of you guys went to Disney World assuming the FastPass system was the same as Disneyland, because they're just very different. Even the way you go about making FastPasses is different. The amount of FastPasses you get is different. There's just a lot of differences. So I thought it was really important to cover. Probably not the most interesting, but I do find it fascinating in seeing like how the FastPass system evolved, and also how, because like of their audiences, their FastPass system is different. So Disney World's guests are guests from either all over the country, all over the world. So those guests are really having to plan in advance. This is for like dining reservations, hotels, like everything. They do have to plan pretty far in advance. So it makes sense being able to give them the option to plan their FastPasses out as well. But Disneyland, because their main audience and their main guests are annual pass holders, if they had the option of booking like far in advance, maybe those guests who wanted to book like the last minute wouldn't have like any of the fun like FastPass options. They only have like the rides that like no one else wanted left, I guess, if that makes sense. So I feel like both FastPass systems really fit both parks really well. They're just very different, so I feel like it is really important to just like understand that before making your trip or going to one of the parks. So yeah guys, that's it. Please leave a comment down below. Let me know if there's anything I missed. This is a very like detailed video, so I'm sure I missed a couple things. And of course, if you guys have any comments regarding this series, leave it down below so I can feature your guys' comments in my next video. I think I also might do a finale video just tying in some of your comments too, because some of the things that you guys have come up with are so interesting. Be sure to subscribe, like this video, and share with a friend too if you really do enjoy this series. Also hit the notification bell. I think everyone always says that. I don't even know if it makes a difference or not. Thank you all for all the love and support. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!